Welcome to this solo show with myself, Rebecca Robertson. How are you doing? What are the realities of gender wealth gap in 2026 and how can women do more to help themselves close this gap? Why is it important to take control now? Now, that is a really good question and a really good subject. Hi, and welcome to Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I'm an independent financial advisor and wealth coach. I'm the director of Evolution Financial Planning, who is also our sponsor for today's show. If you're somebody that is not sure what to do with their finances, maybe you're working and you're not sure what to do with the bonuses you've got at work, or maybe you started a business and you've got profits and you're not sure what you should be doing to enable you to A, pay yourself more, or B, potentially retire earlier. Maybe you're somebody that's thinking about, do I overpay on the mortgage? You've received some inheritance. You've got lots of questions around your finances and what to do next. Then check out Evolution Financial Planning, who are regulated independent financial advisors and financial planners that can help you make some of those big decisions in life. So I want to share something with you. This is from the 18th of November from Scottish Widows. Every year they do a Women in Retirements report. And this was their last press release summary. It's a great summary. You can find it on their website, or if you just Google Scottish Widows Women in Retirement report, it will come up. And basically it starts off by saying career breaks push 1 in 3 women into pension poverty. And this is something that I talk about. I'm really passionate about ensuring less women go into retirement in poverty. More than a third, 36% of women face poverty in retirement, according to Scottish Widows. The research reveals that more than half, 58% of women at near retirement have taken a career break compared to just 12% of men. And women are 12 times more likely to take a career break in order to raise children, 36 versus 3%. Leading loss in income and in pension gaps, leading to loss of income and gaps in their pension contributions. By age 55, 1 in 4, 24% of women, have been out of work for more than 5 years, which could result in a £70,000 hit in retirement. Now, that's a lot of money when you're talking about a percentage of your annualised income being invested each year. What that would need to, how many years that equates to 70,000. When you put it in that perspective, it's a lot. Women taking a 5-year career break at 35 years old, as an example, would reach 67 with a pension worth £512,000. This is £69,380 less than women who do not take a career break, with a gap driven by both missed contributions and the loss of investment growth. Failure to plan ahead creates financial pressure for certain groups. While Scottish Widows data shows that women manage their money slightly better than men, yes, during career breaks, 61 versus 58, they are less likely to plan for them financially. Adding to this pressure, the research shows that 2/5, 40% of women didn't plan financially for their career break, and over 56% never considered the impact and what it would have to their retirement. And as many as 42 of those women found that the break in their career reduced their ability to save compared to 37% of men. This year, Scottish Widows has calculated the median total private pension for women at retirement is £173,000 versus £286,000 for men. This means that the gender pension gap between women and men is now £113,000, 32%, an increase since last year of £100,000 at 30%. Susan Hope, hello Susan, lovely lady, and she's actually been on our show before for one of the previous years of the Scottish Widows in Retirement report. She's a retirement expert at Scottish Widows, said millions of women in the UK are living in the gender pension gap. They don't even know it. To achieve true equality in retirement, we need to make sure career breaks don't break women's future financial stability. There are a couple of straightforward ways to help address these gender pension concerns. We need to improve awareness and take up on shared parental leave policies. Well, that's an interesting point. Not always easy to be done, and often there's in relationships they're not having those kind of conversations, the what if conversations. This policy is critical, yet 4 in 5, 80% of women who have had children in the last 10 years didn't take advantage of it. This represents around 2.7 million working mothers, and 8% revealed that their spouse workplace was not supportive. Separately, spouses could be actively saving into women's pensions during the career breaks. That's a really good point, actually. And just personally, that's something I recommend a lot of people do when the couples, they're taking career breaks, that their family income, their joint income, whether that's coming from one person for a period of time, is that they continue to top up the female's pension. Should be that they be the one that's taking a break, if possible. This is also known as third-party contributions, and while often overlooked, it is a helpful financial planning tool. Not only can it maximise tax relief for those who have used up their allowances, this can help plug gaps in pension contributions while earning power is limited. Employers also continue to play an important role in pension contributions during maternity leave. Fortunately for women, employer contributions in the workplace scheme are often calculated based on the pre-leave salary. So what this really shows is that actually that pension gap, although we might be moving on and we have parental leave and we have maternity leave in place now, a lot of people in their family environments are actually not changing a great deal in how they operate. They're still taking career breaks. Women are still taking time out of their jobs, and therefore they're maybe not going back to work when they do into a full-time role. They're working around the children, and I see this all the time. If I'm flicking through Facebook, and I live in Kent, and in affluent areas like Tunbridge and Sevenoaks, I'm seeing mums who are at home saying, why can't I get a job? I can't find a job that works around the children. How are we supposed to work? So it's not that they don't want to work, it's that there's not enough opportunity, enough flexible work that pays them enough money to enable them to be able to make it worth their while to work, which is why so many women start their own business. Did you know I wrote a book? It's called Accelerating Your Wealth. Funny enough, the same as the show, Accelerating Your Wealth podcast show. But this is 10 ways to accelerate your wealth. It was designed to really help people with their finances in a simple way. So we focus on some key sections around your money mindset, some practical things that can be done with your finances, and allowing you to maximise your money and your future. So if you're thinking, hey, this stuff is interesting, then the best next step for you is to check out the book. It's an Amazon 5-star bestseller. Yeah, I know, it's great, right? Go and check it out. You can buy it on Amazon and have it with you tomorrow for a nice cup of tea. There's some of the realities of why we're seeing this wealth gender pay gap. We have gaps in employment, gaps in our pensions, and then going forward, as women have children, for example, due to having those gaps, they're limited then as to what jobs they can go on to do. And if they do work, then a lot of people are even opting out of paying into pensions because they can't afford it. Or some of the clients that I've had come in and talk to me, you'll hear them talk about, well, I just paid for the holidays, or I paid the PIN money, it was the hobby money, for example. And they didn't really see the importance. Maybe they're relying on their partner's salary. And they weren't looking at that planning as an opportunity to actually ask the question, how should I be looking after myself? What should I be putting first? They're not. A lot of us women are putting the children first. They're putting their university costs or their private education or their hobbies like football or swimming or horses. We're putting all those other things first before we look at our financial planning and our financial future. Now, the thing is with that is that if you then do leave it too late, which unfortunately a lot of people do, is that you're then having to backload, if you like, a lot more money. By delaying that process, you are basically foregoing a lot of interest to potential returns that will therefore mean that instead of you in total, let's just say over a 20, 30, 40-year period, you invested 70,000, 100,000. By delaying that, you're then having to maybe put that £100,000 in, but you're actually having to do more than 100,000 because you're having to do it over maybe only 5 or 6 or 10 years. That's a lot more money to find. And also you're having to do more of it because you haven't had the compound interest that you would have accrued off that £100,000 over that longer period of time. So it's very much like a delayed problem that we can't really afford to delay. And this is causing a lot of issues for women going into retirement. So why are women delaying this? Well, If they're using what they're putting their other people first quite often, they're not able to go and get another job. But this is where it's really important in relationships that people sit down as a couple and work out, how can we maximize our money together? Who is getting paid and how is that working? Now, some of these conversations can be really difficult because maybe you want to go on holiday and you're getting your partner just to focus on that. So the idea of saying, hey, we've got to stop the holiday, which I don't really actually want to do, so maybe I won't have that conversation. Or it might be, okay, no, we'll forgo the holiday, I need to put into my pension. And then having to say to them, well, we can't buy that new car, or we can't do something else has to give. But sometimes it is a case of looking at the figures and saying, okay, how much can we afford to put in, and what are we willing to forego? It's also looking at relationship with money. So this is quite a tricky area, depending on what's been discussed before children have been had and what the plan is as a team as to who's going to take the brunt of, the childcare effectively. So if you're then working and you're both 50-50 on everything, and then one of you stops work and looks after the children and is not going back to work or is only working small hours for a small amount of money, and the main person that's then working, that money goes into their own bank account. Married or not, legally speaking, it's 50-50 in terms of if you're married. But if you're not married, then obviously there does become a little bit of disparity around who is going to pay for what, and that conversation is really, really important. What I encourage people to do, where it's possible, is to think about whatever money's coming into the household, is to see it as a joint effect, whilst there is one person certainly unable to contribute quite so much. If this is possible, there is an alternative, which I'll come on to. By doing it as like this is a joint, we're a team, it's almost like you're able to then navigate through some of these decisions that much more easily. And a proportion of that joint money coming in, that pot coming in, should be invested into the person that's not working pension. So even if the person isn't working or only working part-time, everybody has a small pension allowance, which you will get tax relief on. Basically, that's free money that's being invested. And it means that pension gap is reduced a little, which is some of the notes of what Susan Hope was mentioning a moment ago. The second thing you can do, if it's not really possible that, their money comes in and they don't really want to quite share all of it, and maybe you are working, is that you list out all the joint bills, all the main bills, like you might be your personal mobile number, plus the mortgage, plus their mobile, and every other contracts they've got, and you work out what the total outgoings are, and then you proportion it as a percentage based on the overall income that's coming in. So let me give you some easy maths on this just to keep it simple. Let's just say as a household you have £4,000 coming in, and £1,000 is coming from one person, and then £3,000 is coming from another person. I'm trying to be sort of gender neutral here, but typically in this type of scenarios we're talking about, it would be a part-time person earning £1,000 and then the full-time person, usually the male, earning £3,000. So that's a £4,000 in total. Then what happens is your outgoings are all of that. For a lot of people, it's all gone, especially at the moment. The cost of living, it's quite expensive, but your outgoings. It shouldn't be that all of that £1,000 should go all into it, although that might be the case in the example I've given. But you'll proportion it out and say, okay, well, I'm earning less as a percentage, therefore what I'm putting in is a percentage of what I'm earning. So if let's just actually use an example where we're shortening down. So let's just say actually there's £3,000 going out and there's £4,000 coming in. So rather than saying, okay, well, you've got to proportionate your whole of your £1,000 to that 3,000, you would split it so that you could work out proportionately that person's earning twice as much, so they should pay as a proportion twice as much. So hopefully that makes sense. So there's two different ways of viewing it, but it's really important in relationships that those conversations have had so that you can then start making some planning decisions. Without those conversations, you are a bit backpedaling a little bit. You've got to do that foundational work to find out that everyone's on the same page. Alternatively, what a lot of women do is they start a business, but what tends to happen there is that they spend many years maybe not being very commercial in their approach when it comes to their revenue. So they might not be earning as much, they might be working smaller hours, they might be spending a lot of investing back in the business with fancy websites and things, but aren't necessarily bringing in revenue or clients for them. So therefore, there's not a lot of profits, and therefore they don't have a lot to reinvest, or they naturally want to book lots of holidays because they haven't had that luxury in the past. But there does come a point, hopefully, for a lot of business women, that when the children get older, that they're able to then maximise their returns of that time that they've been working on the business and allow that business to grow. And I see that happen quite often as well. So there's some top tips on some different things of how you can ensure that you do not go into retirement in poverty. And I hope that's been really helpful for you today. I hope there's some tips and helpful tips in there for some of your family members or somebody that your friends that you're speaking to ensure that we're maximising our finances. Thank you for joining us today at Accelerating Your Wealth with your host, myself, Rebecca Robertson. I hope you enjoyed the show. Do subscribe and let us know in the comments any of your thoughts.